One afternoon, Duncan was taking some passengers to the elephant park. He had just turned onto the track to the park. As he went along, though, he noticed something about the tracks. They were a lot bumpier than usual. "Easy there, Duncan," said his driver. "No need to rock and roll." "It's not me, it's these tracks. They're so..." Duncan had derailed. "What the heck was that?" "There appears to be a large crack in the track." And actually, he looked behind him. There were several cracks and bumps along the rails. "What did I say? I told you it wasn't me bouncing." Later that night, Duncan was complaining to the others. "Those tracks are never kept up. Why do we even have so many trains going to Elephant Park? Why does Mr. Percival bother keeping that line open?" "It's a nice tourist spot," said Starlowy, "and it's good for a couple of laughs." "Laughs?" asked Duncan. But then he remembered the elephant statue in the water, and how that got there because of his mistake. "Oh, don't remind me of that. I hate having to look at that stupid statue every time I take a train there." "Oh, I know you do." But before Duncan could tear into Starlowy, Rusty came up. "We inspected the tracks to Elephant Park. They aren't safe at all, and they'll need to be taken out." "They'll be replaced with new ones, though, right?" asked Starlowy. "I'm not sure. There might not be enough traffic to warrant getting new tracks." "Well, that's fine with me," said Duncan. "One less job for me means more time to rest. I never get rest." And just like that, Duncan puffed away to find somewhere to sleep. Unfortunately, Rusty turned out to be right. The railway ended up closing the line to Elephant Park. All the engines were sad that that part of the line was closed. Even Duncan was sad, but he didn't want to admit it. One day, he was puffing to what used to be the fort of the park. Rusty was there with some workers in cement. "What's going on here?" asked Duncan. "We're building a trail to Elephant Park," replied Rusty. "There's still plenty of people who want to visit the park, so Mr. Percival thought of making use of the old track beds as hiking and biking trails. It's rails to trails, he says." "Huh," grunted Duncan. "Well, we'll see how that turns out. Can't wait to have to pull more trains again." And with that, Duncan left the worksite. It took a couple of weeks to complete the trail, but at last it was complete with some new rails to drop off the passengers at the trailhead. And Duncan was to take the first train to the trailhead. "Woo-hoo, I'm so excited," said Duncan sarcastically. "Oh, come on, Duncan," said his driver. "At least you don't have to look at the elephant in the lake every time you take this train." "Huh, that's true, I guess." Duncan set off with his train. When he reached the trailhead, he came to a stop. Hikers and tourists climbed out. They all talked excitedly and happily, and it even started to wear off on Duncan. And when Duncan left the trailhead, he was happier than he had been in a long time. That night in the sheds, Duncan returned to find Rusty and Starlowy. "You know," he said, "I think it was for the best that the old rails to Elephant Park ended up becoming a trail. People seem to be having fun, and are going to enjoy visiting the old station and the elephant in the lake." "I'm glad to see you're happy about it, Duncan," said Rusty. "Are you sure this is even Duncan talking?" teased Starlowy. "I've never seen Duncan so happy about Elephant Park before." "Don't push your luck," snapped Duncan. Starlowy laughed. Then Rusty laughed. And finally, Duncan laughed. And they laughed all night long. So that's going to be all for this video, guys. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments what you thought of this video. But that's all for now, guys. This is the Blue OJ Leader, and I'll see you later.